Take a look at this body cam. It shows of a police chase that's happening because of this red car. You might be saying to yourself, it may not be an ordinary police chase, but 5 teens were arrested in connection with carjacking. Carjacking is to when something happens. It's to where they just take all your stuff, break into your car and take all your stuff. No one knows about the lock and key, how to keep your stuff safe when under lock and key. Almost half everyone does not know that. Let's take a look at this police chase.
Burnett. And just blew a red light at Burnett. I am not in pursuit.
It's an alarming scene that unfortunately is becoming all too common in Washington State, police say. Teens getting involved in some serious crimes. The most recent, a carjacking at 9 in the morning involving a 12-year-old, 15-year-old, and 3 16-year-olds, investigators in Renton say. As police pulled up, you can see the 5 young suspects running from the car they reportedly stole earlier that morning and then subsequently crashed. Police say they are accused of holding up a man at gunpoint. In another incident, police were trying to stop the driver of this reportedly stolen red car. They clocked the car going over 65 miles an hour and crossing the center lane into oncoming traffic, as well as running through red lights. 2 suspects ran away. Another 2 in this case were arrested. One of them is connected to this carjacking, police say. Juvenile crime is an epidemic. We see it almost daily, the chief said in a statement. This is Inside Edition Digital.
So you just heard it. Juvenile crime is delinquent. And why is it delinquent, you might ask? It's delinquent because of one thing. Because of crimes. Crimes that are committed by children. That's why we got to keep kids in the schools. Because of what's going on, we have to keep our kids in the schools all day, every day. Now that may be the solution. I'll start to tell you. That may be the solution here. I am so sorry about that. It may be the solution. But a lot of kids find ways to ditch class. The old drink the water method. Can I go get a drink of water? Then just run off to the school and just get in their cars and go to the food places. That's just a big safety issue for everyone. They don't want no one getting hurt. That's why it's called closed campus for a reason. It's one issue we talked about. Now the teens are in court. But take a look at this. Just 2 days ago, there was a woman who was accused of smashing windshields with a brick. That's a sign of vandalism, as you see in this video. The video you're about to see is a woman who is charged for vandalism, meaning breaking all the bricks. Breaking the bricks, breaking the car with the brick. Take a look.
You are about to see something extraordinary. A woman bashes in a windshield with a brick. And it's happening over and over again in fancy residential neighborhoods across Los Angeles. In this surveillance video, she targets a Porsche. Then she retrieves the brick and calmly returns to her car as if nothing's happened. Katerina Meyer owns the Porsche.
The only thing that I could think of possibly is that I might have, pissed her off on the road on the way home from the grocery store.
Dave Goodman's car got it good. First, the suspect throws the brick at the front windshield. Then she returns to bash in the rear window and really goes to town. She also grabs a chunk and takes it as a souvenir.
It was just a shock. Very surprising. What the heck is she doing to our car?
Yesterday, after an intense search, police arrested 30-year-old Lisa Jones and charged her with felony vandalism.
Lisa Jones is being held without bail.
I don't know what we're going to call this crime, but if we're going to call a crime like this, we're going to call it brick car. Because basically what it's all about is it's basically all about throwing a brick at a car and thinking that you're not going to get in trouble. But let me tell you something. If that ever happens, let me tell you, you are going to get yourself in a bunch of trouble if you don't stop this epidemic. And let me tell you, I never committed crimes in my life, but if I did, if I was one of those people, I'd say, yes, I did. Yes, it happened. I'm willing to pay for my crime. Exactly. That was a woman accused of that, and I'm glad her ass is in jail for doing something that she's not supposed to do. No ifs, ands, buts, or excuses. If it was road rage, you'd have to find a way to handle the road rage. You would not be doing this. You would not be handling this your own way by just sitting there saying, I hate this person so much, I'm going to go and vandalize her car. That's not the way to go. It certainly ain't the way to go if you're vandalized. If it's road rage happening, you need to calmly express yourself. Meaning you need to calmly say to yourself, I need to stop this from happening ever again. Just take some road rage. Just sweep it under the rug and just get along. This is basic common sense. Still to come, are you planning on taking traffic class? Are you planning on going to traffic school? If you are, you better pay attention to this story. It's all about traffic school, and we're going to tell you all about the do's and don'ts. Coming up next, though, could you be sick from eating raw shellfish? Hidden camera footage is going to show you some restaurants that just offer raw shellfish, like seafood and all. Stay with us. Did you ever give up a hamburger for some fish? If you never read studies, fish is being called the brain food. But as I was scrolling through YouTube like I always do before every broadcast, or days before every broadcast, I scrolled through stories that could really be useful for the show. Like if it's a good story, all about a good educational story, like I'm going to show you this one right here. It's all about the fish. What I've heard, as someone who works at Mickey D's, I know about the fish. I never worked at a fish market before, but if I did, I'd be telling you the whole different story. But when we're dealing with something I'm all about fish, it's just basically all about, unsanitary conditions and basically just, I don't know how to say this. So here's John Quinones.
The ocean's bounty, harvest of the seas. In a culture obsessed with good health, it's the dish of choice. High in protein, low in calories. Last year alone, Americans ate nearly 4 billion pounds of fish, lobster, oysters, crab.
It's good to eat. Got their heart to keep the meat.
It all sounds convincing enough, but here's what the fish industry is not telling us. Much of the seafood on the market today is contaminated with a threatening mix of chemicals and bacteria. Not only does it lead to poor quality in the fish we eat, it can also prove deadly. Take the case of Dave and Barbara Simpson.
We went to a restaurant a little ways up the coast.
They were on vacation on the shores of North Carolina. Dave Simpson ate tuna steak for dinner and then became violently sick.
He said, I'm having such severe pain, I think whatever I ate is causing me to have a heart attack. About then, he looked up and he said, I'm going to die now. And his eyes rolled back and he died.
What caused his death?
Scombroid poisoning, a bad tuna fish.
Though very few people die from eating bad fish, every year some 60,000 Americans come down with seafood poisoning. The Centers for Disease Control reports more outbreaks from seafood than beef and poultry combined. Here's why. Long before fish are pulled out of the water, they're exposed to all kinds of poisonous chemicals, both natural and man-made. The contamination of sewage and industrial waste. And if the chemicals weren't bad enough, after seafood is harvested from our oceans and lakes, it's exposed to a vast array of bacteria, transmitted through filthy processing, poor refrigeration, and carelessness.
Given all the potential health hazards, you would think the U.S. government would closely check every boatload of seafood that enters our harbors. After all, when it comes to beef and poultry, the Department of Agriculture must inspect our entire supply by law. But the government has never done that with seafood.
It's time to overhaul the system.
2 weeks ago, the Food and Drug Administration did unveil a new set of regulations that would require fish processors to monitor seafood safety. But the new plan basically calls for the seafood industry to police itself. Critics charge the program would do very little to clean up the kind of problems that we discovered during our 6-month undercover investigation. We toured fish markets throughout the country, bought and tested hundreds of pounds of seafood, took jobs behind the fish counter.
Fish department, can I help you?
And we brought along our hidden cameras. Joining us on our shopping spree, Nancy Longo, a wholesale buyer and restaurant owner from Baltimore.
Despite the fact that I feature seafood in my restaurant, I no longer eat it.
She's testified before Congress as part of a nationwide campaign to protect consumers from contaminated seafood.
Probably about 40% of what I see, I don't think is edible. I really don't.
We'll also hear from a panel of experts. Bill Martin is a veteran seafood wholesaler. Caroline Smith DeWall is a member of Public Voice, a consumer group in Washington. And Ken Panarilla is head of the City of Chicago's Public Health Department. Our tour begins at New York's Fulton Fish Market, the nation's largest. As soon as we walk in, we see fish lying all over the place, unrefrigerated. These tuna loins have been sitting for hours, spoiling in the hot summer air.
That's a disgrace to the industry. If it was a meat company grinding up meats and it was laying on the counter like that with no refrigeration, I mean, they would shut down in a second.
We walk down a side street at the Fulton Market, and we find bags of clams and oysters sitting on a sidewalk.
A definite problem. You've got to keep products cold, you got to keep them clean, you got to keep them moving.
We find these large sturgeon lying on a dirty floor, yet for sale. Much of the fish we see at the market is spoiling.
It's rotten. It's been laying around for a long time.
And people are eating this?
Yeah, they don't know any better.
Next, we journey to Chicago and one of the largest fish markets in the Midwest. We find this: mussels that should be kept on ice, instead displayed in dirty, murky water.
They float a lot of times, that does mean dead.
We see this carp, old and spoiled, hidden among the fresh fish.
This stuff's. We got a fresh one here, and we got this guy sandwiched in between. One of them was so blatantly rotten, the eyes were oozing, this fish was gray in the gills.
How much contamination is in our fish? We decide to buy hundreds of pounds of seafood from cities throughout the country. We number and seal all of our samples in airtight plastic bags. They're kept well refrigerated in ice coolers and delivered to government-certified laboratories for testing. The findings? Well, first of all, we discover that what you think you buy is not always what you get.
This is not red snapper.
40% of what we purchase, labeled as red snapper, turns out to be a cheaper variety of fish. In this case, perch. Our experts say it's a common tactic, merchants trying to boost their profits. But among our more troubling findings, even when the seafood appears fresh and clean, like these clams, the lab tests tell a different story. They contain high levels of a toxin called Vibrio vulnificus, the same bacteria that over the last 2 years has killed at least 9 people in Florida. And then there's mercury. Of our samples tested for this industrial pollutant, which is also produced naturally in the ocean, 25% tested positive. Of the samples tested for PCBs, the chemical found in pesticides, 60% tested positive. These two chemicals can cause birth defects, seizures, and mental retardation in children, though it's not clear how much of the chemicals must be consumed to pose a health risk. Even more startling, we find that 50% of our samples are spoiling. The bacteria levels are so high, our experts say the fish should be thrown out. Too often, though, unscrupulous merchants simply cut away the more obvious signs of decay.
Get rid of the skins, get rid of the heads, get rid of all the stuff that could give it away that it's rotten. And maybe you could get another day or so out of it before it starts to smell again.
Most of us know that bacteria can be killed if food is cooked at high temperatures. The problem is, these days, with sushi more popular than ever, a lot of people are eating their fish raw or undercooked.
Tuna. Grilled and very rare.
And even when seafood is well cooked, some bacteria produce toxins that survive at high temperatures, like histamine, for example. We found it in several of our samples. It was histamine in tuna that killed Dave Simpson. Who do you blame?
There's no way to know who to blame. But someone is to blame. It isn't something that just happens. Someone was careless.
How often does that kind of carelessness occur? We decided to go undercover. We picked several grocery stores and fish markets at random, and then applied for jobs as clerks behind the fish counter.
In Chicago, where seafood is imported from around the world, we find jobs for 6 journalism students, primetime researchers. Some of the stores we work at seem to handle their fish well, but at others we find an assortment of problems. Our first day behind the counter, and our cameras capture a fertile breeding ground for contamination. Fish dropped on a dirty floor, picked up and then placed in a display case for sale. Workers handling seafood with their bare hands, even though health departments recommend that they wear gloves. Time and again, they poke their noses into fillets of fish, risking further contamination. We watch this worker as he cuts fish for more than 2 hours, and yet he never cleans his cutting board, his knives, or his hands. During their week on the job, our workers get a crash course on the selling of seafood, the so-called tricks of the trade. Lesson number 1, always tell the customers what they want to hear, especially when it comes to how old the fish is.
Okay, we just had a customer call and she said, we have any tuna, every tuna isn't fresh. That's another big thing. How fresh is your fish? I don't know. And the people, yes, they always constantly ask how fresh it is. It's just tell them it's stay fresh.
Even if we knew that the fish is sitting in a container in the back, that was fresh fish. That was today's fresh fish.
Lesson number 2, what the customers don't see won't hurt them. In this case, worms. If we find parasites in fish, we're told, just pull them out.
How do I know what it looks like?
Oh, it'll like literally stick up like yeah, but in general, you just have to be real discreet, pull it afterwards.
You would just pick up the worms.
We were told to pick out the worms and that was fine.
The seafood industry points out that, like bacteria, most parasites are harmless as long as the fish is well cooked.
You have worms in apples, you have worms in red meat. Worms are part of nature.
But is this what consumers want in their fish?
You can't talk that person into eating that piece of fish with a worm in it. I'm not going to eat it. You know, and I know it's not harmful, but I just don't want it.
Lesson number 3. When it comes to selling fish, better late than never. Our manager tells us this fish is too old to sell as fresh. But instead of throwing it away, she has another idea.
You can cook it. It's still cookable. It's just not, something that somebody's going to really want to buy and cook it. It's something that we can salvage and still make money off of it.
And lesson number 4. If one customer won't buy it, try again. At this store, our producer returned some scallops that smell bad. We had taken the scallops out of the store and kept them for an hour.
Scallops are good.
What does the manager do with them? He pours them right back into the display case.
That's a definite problem there, definite violation.
I think we do a pretty good job.
David Kessler is head of the Food and Drug Administration, the government agency that oversees the safety of seafood. We showed him videotape of what we found.
Basic sanitation, just not in place. It is totally unacceptable. In fact, it's outrageous.
It was Kessler who 2 weeks ago unveiled the government's new seafood safety program.
The system we're putting in place would really not allow much of what I've seen on camera. It would make sure, for example, that basic temperature is adhered to, the basic temperature controls are adhered to. The system tries to prevent problems before they happen.
The program, known as HACCP for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Point, offers a set of safety guidelines for the seafood industry, but it gives the FDA little power to enforce them.
Does this new safety program allow you to recall bad seafood?
No, there's no recall.
But it's inconceivable to us that if the bad product is out there, you don't have the power to issue a recall.
If a product is tampered with tonight, I don't have the statutory authority to recall a product.
But you can't board fishing vessels for inspection. You can't inspect trucks that transport seafood. You can't shut down retail stores. Does it really have any teeth?
Oh, absolutely. It has enormous teeth. It requires that those who process fish make sure that the vessels and the vessel records are available, and we can inspect those vessels.
Who keeps the records?
The records are kept by the manufacturer, but we oversee it. We go and inspect. We audit those records.
The FDA's $40 million seafood safety budget, however, makes no allowances for any new inspectors. The agency operates with only about 400 compared to 7,500 government inspectors who check our beef and poultry.
Dr. Kessler, do you realize that the U.S. government spends more for one nuclear missile than it does for the entire seafood safety program?
Those kind of decisions really are in the purview, of the public, through their representatives, and what they want to pay for. The United States Congress appropriates money.
Lip service. There's a lot of things that they state they're going to do and they have done that you really don't see in action.
As for the seafood industry, it fully supports the government's new safety program, saying the talk of contamination is overblown.
Bacteria by itself is not a harmful thing. We have bacteria in the millions on all kinds of foodstuffs. Cooking destroys it.
I don't think that you use the fact that you can cook bacteria out, at the end, as a substitute for good quality control.
Would you eat raw fish?
Would I eat raw fish? No. I think that I'm not going to sit here and tell people not to. If you ask me personally whether I would eat raw shellfish, the answer is no. Would I allow members of my family to eat raw shellfish? I advise against it.
So what can you do? Experts say be sure to buy from reputable and knowledgeable merchants, and if you can, buy a whole fish. And it's also important, they say, to smell it. The odor should not be very strong or offensive. You also want to touch it. The flesh should be shiny and firm. And above all, cook seafood thoroughly. By the way, raw shellfish can be dangerous for people with liver disease, diabetes, or immune disorders. Other people with serious health problems should consult their doctor. Finally, we'd like to thank the Better Government Association in Chicago for all their help with this investigation.
Wow. So you just heard it. Do your homework. You see employees sniffing that fish, walk away. Try to find someone who has better fish. Talk to the local fishmonger. And even then you'll know that if you eat raw, that if you smell fish, you can and will be killed. If that ever happens to you. You need to take food safety courses. And then you'll know what's going on. All right, on Throwback Thursday, you saw the report about, a couple seasons ago, you saw my reaction to a Dateline story about traffic school. Also on Throwback Thursday, you saw the report. Up next, we're going to show it to you again along with what I said on Throwback Thursday and a repeat of what I said on Throwback Thursday. And you may have some second thoughts about it. Stay with us. All right, to give you a quick recap here. A couple seasons ago, we talked about traffic school. Actually, we talked about it a lot of seasons ago. Then, when I first got this tape that you're about to see on eBay, you saw my reaction to it. Hence the term's reaction. I don't have an extra camera to do like little reactions, or if I had extra cameras, then we have a whole different story. On Throwback Thursday, you saw this video. You probably saw this video. If you didn't, we'll put the link in the description. for that story. But now you're going to see it again. This time, we're going to raise some common sense about it. And as an added bonus with the common sense, you're going to hear what I had to say from Throwback Thursday, the same thing I had to say. It's just basically take the driving class and don't pay for it. It's just that simple. A lot of people are just paying to just, I don't know, they're simply paying to not go to class, sleeping in class, when they're there for like 6 to 8 hours a day. One state is 6 hours, the other state's 8 hours. A lot of states need to be tough about this. No bribery, no nothing. Just take the damn class and get it done, and get your insurance claims up. It's that simple. You think it's not simple enough? Here's Bob McEwen.
Bourbonnais, Illinois, 50 miles south of Chicago. A tractor-trailer loaded with almost 50,000 pounds of steel heads for this railroad crossing. At the wheel, this man, John Stokes. Just up the tracks, barreling in from Chicago at more than 70 miles an hour, was the legendary passenger train, the city of New Orleans. What happened next on March 15, 1999 depends on who's doing the telling. Driver John Stokes says his truck was trapped on the tracks by the crossing barriers. But the engineer says he saw the truck driver trying to beat the train by steering his 18-wheeler around the crossing barriers as they started to come down. Either way, there's no dispute about the tragic result. The train slammed into the truck. 11 passengers were killed. 117 were injured. Truck driver John Stokes walked away. Stokes, whose driving record at the time included 15 moving violations and 9 accidents causing personal injury or property damage, or both. Why was a driver with a record like that still on the road? The answer is simple. John Stokes had a piece of paper like this one. Because according to the law in Illinois, though his driver's license had been suspended, he was allowed to get it back simply by attending something called traffic school and receiving what's known as a completion certificate.
How many people are killed by motor vehicle collisions every year in this country?
What is traffic school? It's where drivers are retrained and then put back on the road ostensibly as safer drivers. Laws vary, but in over half of U.S. states, drivers with too many tickets can attend traffic school to have violations removed from their records. In some states, courts order drivers to traffic school before they get their suspended licenses back. And in many states, people who are not problem drivers can qualify for a discount on their auto insurance if they attend traffic school. But the question is, do these schools really accomplish what they claim? Do they change attitudes, reduce accidents and violations, and make drivers safer? The answer, some say, is no.
Here for the points reduction.
And as you'll soon see on our hidden cameras, how can they work if a student can earn a certificate even while asleep? Like this man who we saw snoozing his way through one class.
Be aware of all school zone signs.
Or worse,
And then we need the $50.
if students can simply pay to get a completion certificate without spending a single minute in class.
Better seatbelts?
We should say that many individual traffic schools do a good job, like this one in upstate New York. Students pay up to $60 for the course.
This is something I've basically devoted my life to. It's something that I truly believe in.
Do you ever hear people that say, oh, I drive better when I'm drunk?
Chris Jarman, who heads the Driving School Association of New York and who runs this one, says the traffic schools can work, but only if the courses are taught properly. Jarman says that he's trained thousands of drivers to be safer on the road.
We're trying to provide a quality program to people who really want to learn something.
We sat in on one of Chris Jarman's classes. He began by telling his students exactly what's at stake.
The number one reason why I'm here offering this course is hopefully to reduce crashes and deaths out on the road.
He then imparted safety tips to do that on subjects like braking techniques.
Stomp on your brakes, stay on the brakes, and then steer the wheel to get around the object that you're about to hit. And
dealing with road rage.
If you use your vehicle in a violent way, that's road rage.
How attitude affects driver behavior.
Attitude controls behavior.
He talked about drunk driving, how and where accidents are most likely to happen. And finally,
your driving is a job that requires all of your focus, all of your attention.
But it wasn't all a lecture. Chris Jarman also asked his students questions and got them involved in a group discussion.
Anybody have an example of someone losing their temper?
People start cursing, they're like, pull over, and they go.
And there was a video, though Jarman used it to supplement the lecture and the discussion.
Let's stop and get your ideas about this before going on.
All right, so how would you define what an attitude is?
And as required by New York State law, Jarman kept his students in class for a full 6 hours.
I want to thank you folks for being here today.
But are all of these schools doing the job Chris Jarman is? We sent Dateline staffers out with hidden cameras to find out.
Hi. How are you? Here for the points reduction?
This traffic school in New York City offers a course provided by the National Traffic Safety Institute. That might sound like a government agency, but the NTSI is a multi-million-dollar private business. Its course approved in numerous states and taken by hundreds of thousands of drivers a year.
Driver's license and $50 fee.
Remember, in New York, the class is supposed to last at least 6 hours. But when one of our producers arrived for a 1 p.m. class, this traffic school employee told him they'd be done in half that time.
How long is it?
There's only about 3 of you today, so you should be finished before 4 o'clock.
Before 4 o'clock?
The NTSI says its course should be led by an instructor, with group discussion, a lecture, and videos.
So what do we learn, basically?
Watch the films and you will learn how to drive defensively.
And what about the teacher?
Are you the instructor as well?
The instructor is coming.
This car is not under control.
But once inside the classroom, there's no instructor in sight, just a tape playing on the VCR.
Special conditions call for special driving techniques and skills.
Like the video we saw at Chris Jarman's school, the one shown here covered such safety topics as defensive driving and the dangers of alcohol. But in this class, an instructor like Jarman apparently won't be showing up. Here, the students seem to be pretty much on their own.
So an instructor coming here? This is it. Oh, this is it? So I can read.
We don't know if these other students are good drivers taking the class to get a discount on insurance, or drivers trying to get points taken off their license. Either way, the NTSI workbook promises an eye-opening learning experience. Not, apparently, for this man.
That driver behind or ahead of you.
We watched him sleep for more than 10 minutes. No one tried to wake him. And it doesn't take long for the other student to nod off too.
Assuming either driver is under the influence of alcohol.
In fact, he gets so bored, he actually leaves for a while. As for the first student, when he wakes up, he decides to check out the magazine rack at the back of the classroom.
Courtesy should be extended to all.
A staff member finally does appear, but only to change videos.
Okay, let me show you where the rest goes. This is about 20 minutes. Yeah.
When the second tape ends, traffic school does too, with no lectures, no questions, and no discussion.
So in place of the other videos and the lecture, I'll just give you a workbook that you can bring home.
Rather than the required 6 hours, or the promised 3, it lasts just over an hour and a half.
20 minutes around it's on the one book. It was 7 hours. It's supposed to be a 6 hour course. Breaks. Yeah.
And all the students, our staffer, and the 2 who fell asleep, get that all-important certificate showing they've successfully completed traffic school, allowing them either to cut 10% from their insurance rates or deduct points from their driving records.
So drive defensively.
Thanks.
2 traffic schools, each with a drastically different approach to driver safety. One with a teacher, the other without. One with students required to participate, the other, well, you get the picture. But both with the power to put dangerous drivers back on the road. Drivers like John Stokes, who was involved in that train crash that killed 11 people and injured 117 last year. Incredibly, despite his long, flawed driving record, Stokes was given his license back. And believe it or not, When he was caught again for speeding, an Illinois court allowed him to attend traffic school yet again. We found him back behind the wheel, still driving.
Remember, nothing lasts forever, and you'll get there.
It's one thing to attend a course with lax standards, but we wondered about something else, something more egregious than cutting class time. What if you could get a traffic school completion certificate without spending a single minute in class? We were about to find out.
And find out we will do. When we come back, you will see what happens on hidden camera when this person tries to pay to get a certificate and not attend the course along with other people. What's going to happen after that? Will they be arrested or get away with it? And then later that common sense. Stay with us. Back to our story. We've seen how traffic schools operate. The do's and don'ts way. You've seen one traffic school to where group discussions, videos being shown, and held for 6 hours. One school we saw just basically let them sit in a course for 90 minutes when it was supposed to be a 6-hour course. New York 6 hours, California 8 hours. And as you're about to see from another hidden camera footage, you might actually have to buy your way out by just paying the $50 and be on your way without attending the 6-hour course. How does it happen? Here again is Bob McEwen.
It's happened to almost everyone. That instant on a fast-moving highway or at a busy intersection when you find yourself a split second away from disaster. That's when you hope the drivers around you have been well trained in traffic safety and respect the rules of the road. But each year, over 40,000 Americans are killed in auto accidents. And traffic school instructor Chris Jarman says the main reason is driver error.
So if most drivers think that they're above average, from your perspective, what do you think they are? I'd have to say that, there's a large majority that are just way below average.
In many states, the way those problem drivers are retrained is traffic school. Some are better than others. But what if certain traffic schools put those drivers back on the road without teaching them anything at all? In Florida, which along with California and New York is among the leaders in the number of traffic schools, we were told that some schools actually sold certificates without requiring attendance. But when we visited 40 schools in the Miami area, not one would sell us a certificate. In fact, some owners told us it would be illegal if they did so.
Our operation date involves Americana Driving School.
It was a different story in California. We went along as undercover officers visited several Los Angeles area traffic schools, like this one.
Just for my own curiosity, how long would I have to go to driving school if I did do this?
It's an 8-hour class.
8 hours.
Okay. And all we do is sit there and tell you what not to do.
By California law, the course offered by this school in LA must be 8 hours long, with safety videos and classroom lectures. But listen to how this instructor describes traffic school to an undercover officer.
I did it once, 17 years ago. Boy, it was the boringest thing.
Driving school?
That big class. Oh, I thought it was horrible. So that's what I did. Now I teach it.
Then, without having to attend a single minute of the required 8-hour course, the officer simply pays his money and walks out with a certificate showing he's completed it.
Okay, Benita, I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay.
In all, 5 of the 10 traffic schools visited by the California DMV sold completion certificates without requiring course attendance. In New York, we approached 5 schools, and 4 would not sell a certificate.
During this time, you are not watching the road.
But remember that school in New York City? The one where nap time seemed to be part of the curriculum?
I'm just really busy right now. Is there any way I can do this?
Another Dateline staff member asks if she can avoid attending traffic school altogether, yet still get the certificate showing she'd completed the course.
So there's no way I can just pay?
What?
There's no way I can just pay?
It doesn't take much persuasion.
Okay.
And in a few minutes,
After I pay and you give me the certificate,
For $50, she gets what she wanted, a completion certificate. And if she were a problem driver, with points for violations on her record, that certificate would allow her to erase them.
As soon as they get this, they will take off 4 points from this record.
Our staffer is also told she's now eligible to get a discount on her automobile insurance.
This is what you show your insurance company, the temporary certificate, and this tells them that I applied, that you attended the class.
That completion certificate also includes the signature of someone named John Segretti. Who is John Segretti? This man.
I spent most of my life at making safer drivers, at researching our program, at making it work and making it have a difference in people's lives.
Mr. Segretti is president of the National Traffic Safety Institute, the NTSI, one of the leading providers of traffic school courses in the U.S.
Our bottom line in our program is to make a positive impact on people's driving behavior.
His company doesn't operate that school in New York, but they did approve it to teach the NTSI course. And Segretti says their involvement doesn't end there.
We train and monitor and give in-service training and evaluate each instructor involved in the course.
When you say monitored, how closely and how often?
That would be sporadically based on reports or evaluations that we may see on them.
Segretti says the effectiveness of his course comes from a technique called facilitation.
Facilitation meaning what?
Meaning that we try to teach the class in a circle, in a group setting, where our instructor tries to have them interact with each other.
So you're talking about engaging the students somehow in order to change their attitude?
Absolutely.
Getting their attention.
The only way.
Making them participate.
They have to participate. We have a philosophy that we must involve the student in the class for them to come away with a benefit.
But as you've already seen on our hidden cameras, the only facilitation in this class was when someone changed the videotape. And as for student involvement,
each student receives a workbook.
Right. And what do they do with that book?
They work with it during the 6 hours, and it gives them exercises and sample questions. You don't go to sleep in the back of the room.
Really? Apparently no one told that to the students our camera caught snoozing at this NTSI course in New York City.
As you can see, she could not avoid hitting the rear of the stopped vehicle.
And the workbook that NTSI President Segretti says is supposed to be used during the 6-hour course?
So in place of the other videos and the lecture, I'll just give you a workbook that you can bring home.
As you saw, it was handed out as homework at the end of the class. A class with no lecture, no group discussion. Essentially, no interaction with the students whatsoever.
That's it?
And this class lasted only about an hour and a half.
Let's take a look at your curriculum.
Okay.
We showed our hidden camera tape to the NTSI president.
Granted, this may be an agency that we have, and certainly I would look into that, but I can't comment further than that. I don't know what happened there.
Well, what happened, Mr. Segretti, was pretty clear. How do you explain that?
I don't have an explanation for you today other than to say that we monitor these things, we look into them, as well as the Department of Motor Vehicles. I know that's not something that we condone or goes on all over the country. That I know. We may have a bad apple here. In the middle of New York City, there are a few.
And perhaps some of those bad apples don't fall too far from the tree. Just look at the driving records of the people who run this school. They have a history of suspended and revoked driver's licenses themselves. Remember this woman? Her license was suspended because she didn't show up to court for a traffic violation. And the man who agreed to take $50 to hand over a completion certificate? He also once had his license suspended, then revoked. We caught up with him outside on the street.
Am I being paid for
That's what that camera does. At first, when we told him we'd bought a certificate without having to attend traffic school, he expressed disbelief. You say you don't know about this.
I don't know about this.
Would you mind looking at this for me? This is videotape. Is that not you? I'm pretty sure that's you. Then we showed him the tape from our hidden camera.
That is you, is it not?
Yeah.
Well, you just told our associate producer that she can simply pay the money.
No,
I'm not gonna see that thing, man.
We asked him to take another look.
Do you not think that by selling these certificates, rather than requiring people to sit through the 6 hours of instruction, you're potentially letting dangerous drivers back out on the road?
I mean, that's it. If you take this on a whole, this has been a very good program, okay? Not every instructor out there is a bad apple. Not every delivery agency is a bad apple.
Ken Ringley, the deputy commissioner of New York's Department of Motor Vehicles, admits he doesn't know how many bad apples are out there. He says his agency simply has not had the resources to find out.
Is there anyone assigned to going out into the field on a consistent basis and dropping in to the people who give these traffic courses and seeing how they're doing?
On a consistent basis, no.
But as we showed you in California, that state's Department of Motor Vehicles has done just that. And this is the result.
They have the right to remain silent.
Traffic school employees caught selling completion certificates, taken away in handcuffs.
Watch your head.
The question is, will the DMVs in other states now get just as tough? The New York Department of Motor Vehicles says it is investigating this school for possible violations of the law, including fraud. New York has recently enacted new legislation it hopes will clean up the traffic school business.
If you come back a year from now, I certainly hope that it's going to be much more difficult for you to get a certificate like you did.
This past summer, Illinois enacted a new law making it tougher for bad drivers to take traffic school classes and stay on the road. And the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles says an aggressive traffic school monitoring campaign is now in place here. By the way, that traffic school we visited in New York City is no longer in business.
Wow. When we return, some common sense. Stay with us. Common sense alert. You want your certificate, huh? You want your certificate? Do you want your certificate? You ain't gonna get it. Oh, you gonna pay me money? Get the fuck back in there. You're taking that course for 6 hours. For 6 to 8 hours. That's how long. It really doesn't matter if you're busy or not. If you gotta take traffic school for court order, you have to follow that court order. You don't show the court like, oh, I paid to get out. You don't do that. You need to attend these classes for your own safety. You may think I'm an idiot for saying this. Don't pay your way to get out. You can be arrested. DMVs and states have tougher laws. California, Illinois, Florida, New York, 6, 8 hours. You're there all day. If you need to take a day off of work, just take a day off of work. Let them know, hey, I gotta go to traffic school. And if you're scheduled to work that day, just let them know, hey, on this day, I have to go to traffic school. You prove to them, show your GM, show your manager the court order. Take traffic school very seriously. Mind you, I do not drive. I don't drive. If I did drive and cause an accident, then I would damn well take a day off of work to just go to traffic school, sit in there for the minimum of 6 hours, and basically learn how to become a merit driver. I'd be involved in these group discussions. I'd listen. I wouldn't be sitting there for 6 hours a day just falling asleep. That's not who I am. I would not fall asleep during these things. It's like falling asleep in class. You fall asleep in class. I mean, that's what when I was in school, I see people sleeping in class. Heads down in this one like this, and then all of a sudden get up, and you sleep again. You gotta stand. Well, he slept. Well, that person slept. And you know what he did? He stood. He stood up, walked around the room. Stood up, walked around the room. And this, and that, and the other. Therefore, what you need to understand here is you need to take traffic school extremely and very seriously. Take it very seriously. Sit in there for 6 to 8 hours. Don't sit there and buy your way out of it. Don't sit there and eat. Because it's also a distraction to the bus drivers. not to the bus drivers, to the instructors, I should say. I'm sorry for that. What people also have to understand here is this. I get that you're really busy. I get that you got a long day ahead of you. You gotta go to your work. You gotta go to work at this and this and this. But you cannot be doing that when you're in traffic school. You're court ordered to do so. If it's a court order, it's a court order. You don't go the other way around and then simply say to yourself, okay, I'm really busy, so I'm going to buy my way out of traffic school, get the certificate, and then go off to work. No. You can't do that. That's illegal. Your boss told you the same thing, and you say, well, that's illegal in the state of Texas. I say, no, it's not. Don't believe me. Don't believe what your boss says that's not illegal. I mean, think of the episode of the Boondocks where Robert Freeman had a heart attack and was ordered to take all his medication. Doug Nimson said, this is all the shit I need for medication. We ain't illegal no more. That's why you gotta look up your state's laws. Don't believe what little Timmy says to you. Look up your state laws. Talk to your attorneys. If you find lawyers in your area or district attorneys, ask them questions. Attend law school. Go to your state's website, statutes.capital.texas.gov. Look up your state's laws. You have to be there for a minimum of 6 to 8 hours. You can't look the other way around. You have to attend these every time. And you simply just sit there and can't say, well, I have a busy day ahead of me. I gotta go to work. I gotta take care of my child. I gotta go get groceries. I gotta go this and this and that and the other. You can't skip out. This is very important. If you decide to drive, then you have to decide to say to yourself, okay, if I cause an accident, if I get points on my driver's license, I need to take that driving course. That brings me to what I talked about on Throwback Thursday. I showed the video on Throwback Thursday. I want you guys to really pay attention to what I had to say. Because this was taken very seriously. So pay very, very close attention. Pay very close attention. Pay very close attention. I want you to listen. Okay, where do we begin over here? First of all, we all know the obvious. If you want to get your points reduced or get your reduced claims, you take traffic school. Some states have laws. California and New York are very strict about this. Some states allow like 6-hour courses. California is 8 hours. You look up traffic school laws in Texas. And look at the traffic school laws in California. California traffic laws really include. That was weird. A driver's license, minor movement violation, no previous traffic, no alcohol drug use. I mean, the rules of traffic school, the rules, you have to have valid driver's license and your ticket, infraction. So basically it's like this. I mean, a lot of you guys want to stand there and go, it's that simple. Wake your ass up and listen. Listen to the instructors. When you're in school, you slept in class, I'd wake up. Let me tell you something. If I was a driving instructor, those teachers at that traffic school, and I saw people sleeping, I would have stopped and said, hold on folks, I think they have a great example here. We have a driver who agreed to come over here and is falling asleep. Harley. Harley, wake up. I would set guidelines and rules and say there'll be no sleeping, there'll be no eating. You're here for 6 hours a day because you chose to be here. You were court ordered to. And you will not violate that court order. No electronic devices. No electronic devices. No earphones, no earbuds, no food, no sleeping. Because this is very important. And don't be driving your way out of it. As you saw in that tape, these people, you know what they did? They paid $50 just to get the thing, and get out of here. Violation of laws. Every state has got to be tough when it comes to traffic school and getting your license back and getting your points reduced. There needs to be tougher restrictions. No payment, no nothing. You're sitting there with the instructor 6 to 8 hours a day. Done. That's it. It's like going to regular school for 6.5 to 7 hours. Now y'all may sit there and think like, oh, you never went to traffic school, you never have a license. Well, you're damn right I don't have a license. I don't drive. It's one of the main reasons why I take the city bus or ride a bike. Safest ever. You don't need a license to ride a bicycle. You don't even need a license to ride the RTA. But if I was starting to drive and I got tickets, you know what would happen to me? If they told me to go to traffic school, I would take a day off of work to go to traffic school. A day off of work. Just say, you know what? I need to take some days off of work so I can go to traffic school. Then we more understandable. Is like, well, don't they do it at night anymore? No, they do it these times, and there will be no way to negotiate their way out. I have to go talk to the instructor. So my boss goes to the instructor and says, hey, you're instructing this, well, I'm an employee, blah, 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 so to this and this. I mean, there ain't no way. I'm not a lawbreaker. I follow every law there is by the state of Texas. And all the city ordinances that are put in place by the city of Corpus Christi. Hence the terms. City ordinance, federal law, state law. We have to understand what goes on in these traffic schools. And believe me, they caught me paying to give them these certificates, I'd be in hell. I'd be in hell and in jail. You know why? Because I accepted the bribe. I would have taken that money and say, no, this is wrong, I'm not doing it. I would have said, no, take it back, get your ass back in there. That's what I would have said. You take it, here's your money, get your ass back in there and watch. That's how it would have been done. But no, they don't want to be like that. You know what they want to do? They want to simply sit up here and say, well, let's just go 90 minutes and then we'll be done. No 6 hours. Because in New York it's 6 hours. I don't know how long traffic school is in Texas. I have to ask an officer. Or I don't know. I don't know how long a traffic school, because we know from watching this 8 hours in California, 6 hours in New York. Not in Texas, I don't know. Unless they had someone who taught driving instructor told me how long. I don't know how long in Texas. I don't know. I think you get the picture here. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. remember Jonathan H? Jonathan H was the one who got fired for what happened at his school. If you don't remember from yesterday's foul break, he was the one who got fired basically leaving 15 minutes early because of the fire department. Now what you're about to hear was his side about what had happened after he was fired. Was he forced to be fired, or was he forced to resign? Watch and see.
Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Holly, the janitor from Webbridge Middle School. Well, I used to be there. First off, man, I just want to tell everyone that I thank everyone for all the support online, on Facebook, on all the social sites that it was on. I thank everyone for the support. I just want to start off by saying that a lot of people had a question. I didn't get fired. I was forced to resign. Again, I did not get fired. I was forced to resign. And why I was forced to resign was not because of that video. That video led up to what they was trying to do from the beginning. And what that was trying to get me out the door for their own personal reasons. It was wrong how they did it. I was thinking that being that I was going to resign, that I was be able to, get back into the system. But that didn't happen. I was tricked. And when I tried to get back into the system, my application kept being denied. Wasn't getting any interviews. I called to HR, spoke with the director, Northside, and she told me, her name was Patty, she told me straight like this, you no longer can be an employee of Fulton County. How is that so? I resigned. I didn't get terminated. I resigned, right? I'm supposed to be able to get back, right? Didn't happen. So again, that was unfair. In the meeting, that last meeting that I had when they did what they did, they showed me pictures on copy of paper, some pictures they took that I've never seen before, saying, this writing, this little graffiti that was on the back, some pencil graffiti that was on the back of a bathroom door, and a picture of a toilet bowl with tissue and stuff inside of it. Took a picture of two pictures, and that's what they showed me, and that was the reason they backing on firing me, trying to get me out the door. That was their reason. That was the last straw, as they say, which was a bunch of nonsense. And at the time, Miss Offman wasn't at the school because she had fell and broke her leg, or broke whatever she broke, and was out for a while. But the principal, the substitute principal, came in from a whole different county, and automatically started attacking me. You see what I'm saying? I'm looking for things, doing the same thing Miss Offman used to do, And I believe deep down inside that she had to know that something, Miss Offman had to be talking to her and letting her know, like, listen, you need to be looking for this, looking for that, because they were trying to get me out the door. Point blank, period. I did no wrong whatsoever. This lady picked on me for no apparent reason. I always passed all my inspections. I always passed all my evaluations. I made sure the building was clean. I made sure my staff was cleaning the building the way they're supposed to clean. I had a schedule, No one else is complaining about the building. Nobody. She was fine with the building how it was. But all of a sudden, because I wasn't letting her control me, it became a problem. I'm not a yes person all the time. I'm not going to agree to you all the time. I'm going to have an opinion on things. I'm going to voice my opinion. If it's wrong, if I feel like if it's wrong, I can talk for myself. I have an opinion. You can't stop me from having that. But what she'll say is, when I have my opinion, you give me pushback. You pushing back. That's not pushing back. That's having an opinion on things. You can't always be right. I don't care what position you in. You cannot always be right. Period. And that's what she wanted. She wanted full control over me, micromanaging my department, having other people coming in trying to look for stuff, all that stuff. Bunch of nonsense. We had a radio that we had to carry all the time. And, you should hear some of the stories of how she talked to me over that radio. She didn't care who heard what was going on over that radio. Jonathan, come in. Jonathan, you need to come in my office. This, that, and the third. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Just talking to me all crazy. And people would come to me and say, why is she talking to you like that over the radio? That's disrespectful. But nobody was doing nothing about it. It's like an everyday thing. And again, it's messed up. And another thing, You know, before all this even began, a lady came to me, a teacher came to me and told me, listen, I heard you wasn't going to be here next year. Mind you, none of this stuff was even taking place. How you know that? How you know I'm not going to be here next year? Of course she wasn't going to tell me her source, but how you know that? Who told you that? So I believe that this was pre-planned or premeditated to get me out the door. And what I also believe is that, you know, she always talked about her budget. I was making top dollar. You know, $21 an hour. Top dollar for me, you know. They kept talking about the budget this, the budget that. Come to find out, they hired someone, an older person, okay, no experience in supervisor position at all. Just a regular custodian, straight to the 3 position. Never heard of. But in order to do that, that was for them to save money. You know, he's going to work from the first year's salary or the first pay scale. And that was way lower than what I was making. And that's just not fair. You know, if that was your, if all you had to do was transfer me out to school, send me somewhere else, if that was your plan all along, period. I didn't do no wrong. Everybody loved me in that school. Teachers loved me. Kids loved me. You know, I used to get, even with y'all, with the administration, some of them, you know, I was getting, you know, they had these balls that they used to give out, you know, to appreciate you, you know, like you some type of MVP of the school. These balls that they used to give out in meetings. I got like 3 of them. I had like 3 of them balls. I was nominated for different things. I mean, I was doing what I had to do in that school. But again, when you don't allow a person to fully control you, it's a problem. It's a problem. And I had to do what I had to do. I had to take that phone in there. And I got other videos. But again, that video to me stood out. You know, you don't talk to people like that. You don't treat people like that just because you have a higher position. Treat people with respect, and you will get respect. You know, don't have people coming out your office, teachers and stuff, coming out your office crying, you know, and frustrated and stuff like that because how you talk to them, like as if you are God or something. You're not God. Who are you? You human just like us. You know? And I'm glad everyone supported me on this matter. Because this has been going on for a long time. This is not the first instance that this happened with this lady. Yeah, I've been in her office, but for stupid stuff. Stupidest things. She kept looking for things. Stupid things. You know? I've never stole from this school. I've never took nothing. I never did none of this stuff. I had the keys to the school. I was in charge of the building. You know? And as far as when the fire people came in, you know, they were sitting out there for an hour. I'm the one that's in control of the building. I'm the building person. If I need to let them in, that's my call. I'm in charge of the building. I got the key to the building. What's the problem? And contradicting yourself, you said you was calling me on the radio at 2:45. But yet I left at 2:52. So who's lying here? So if I'm still in the building at 2:45 and you said you called me on the radio, then I'm supposed to have heard the radio, right? I left at 2:52. So there you go lying again. So again, people, you know, I hope this stuff all get corrected. That's all I want. Correction. And all administration in Fulton County need to look at this and correct this matter for all administration. All of them. Because I'm pretty sure this is not only going on in this school, but other schools too. You know? Learn how to talk to people. You know? It's just a title, people. Principal is just a title. That's all it is. That's all it is. You just a title. You still work for Fulton County. You have a boss over you too. You know? Treat people with respect. Period. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, y'all, you know, again, you know, I'm doing my Uber thing right now. You know, it's hard work, you know what I'm saying? I have to be out there, you know, long hours or whatever. But I'm going to continue to support my family no matter what I got to do. You know what I mean? But again, y'all, you know what I'm saying? This is just a learning experience for me. I didn't know this video was going to be like this. But, you know, the people was talking for me. I'm not doing anything. The people talk. They see it. There's nothing untrue about what I posted or what I put out there. There's nothing untrue about it. Y'all see it for yourself. You know? So if y'all need to get at me for anything, y'all, you know, my email is jnut, JNUT129 @gmail.com. Hey, get at me for anything, you know what I'm saying? Y'all want to holler at me, whatever, you know. But I'll be talking with y'all, though. Peace.
Well, now we know. And, very exciting, we passed over the 1 hour mark. It's the very first time ever. So now we know. He actually some common sense first. We need to raise that. We're just basically out of time here. That's all visitors should give me a break Saturday going to Sunday. We will see you again for Give Me a Break Monday. For all visitors to YouTube, give me a break. Treat others. Basic common sense. If you want respect, you get respect. Good night.